18 minutes to 9 as we continue with news and views this morning right here on Salam Media. And we are staying with the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa, outlining a number of issues, visions, challenges, and also looking at the road ahead. Considering this was the first SONA address under the Government of National Unity, we're now joined by former Minister of Social Development of South Africa, Lindiwe Zulu. Former Minister Lindiwe Zulu, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and good morning to your Salam radio listeners.
Thank you very much for that. And let's just look at the State of the Nation address, the first, as I mentioned, with the Government of National Unity. And just before we get into certain specifics, just your overall view of what you witnessed last night.
Thank you very much. What I witnessed last night was a continued presence of a president, and that is President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is very much aware of what are the things that are ailing South Africa and then what then needs to be done. What I think would be important is after the president has said everything that he said, how does the president make sure, especially given that we have government of national unity, how then does the president make sure that everything that he said is taken by the ministers, by the departments, by everyone who's working with government to make sure that the changes happen?
Yes.
Having said that, I also think that you are talking about the government of national unity, and I'd like to remind the listeners that, by the way, this government of national unity has got founding principles in the statement of intent that was pledged, that was signed by everyone to pledge to work together, to cooperate through voluntary GNU and all that. Everything is in there. So it must not be difficult for the president to rein in everybody. And I'm not picking anyone. I'm saying everybody. Rein in everyone to do the right thing. And the right thing is to focus on the things that will change the lives of Africans.
Yes, I think what is important is the State of the Nation address comes after what we've seen the Government of National Unity in action, governing the country after a few months. And we know that, we can't wave a magic wand to wave away some of the problems that we are experiencing in the country. But the key issue here, former minister, is uh, Cyril Ramaphosa highlighting the need once again for national unity, for collaboration in working towards growth and development. And he mentioned a whole host of issues in terms of the country, in terms of the challenges, but more importantly, the vision and the road ahead in addressing these challenges.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the president even went to an extent of putting figures, let's say, when he spoke about infrastructure development. I just want to go back to the fact that he spoke about a nation that works for all. He spoke about an economy that has to grow and be an inclusive economy. He spoke about ending poverty and the high cost of living. And I think this one is critical because high cost of living, what causes high cost of living, and that needs to be. But also he put the machinery that has to be able to assist us with that. And that's why I'm saying when all is said and done, every area that needed to be picked up by the president, including the issues of social security, improving livelihoods of people. Therefore, to improve livelihoods of people, it's about the people themselves working together, but also finding opportunities where they are available. But when the economy is not inclusive and it excludes certain sections of our society, then the economy is growing not for the people. That's why the president spoke about a nation that works together. So everyone must be conscious that the economy must grow, must contribute towards the growth of that economy. But when all is said and done, what are we doing there for? We are doing that because we want to improve the livelihoods of people of South Africa.
Yes, I think this is absolutely important, and we need to obviously put the country's interests first because these are challenges that we are faced with, and we need to address these challenges. But also at the same time, we are living in a global village, and we know South Africa has come under the radar. It has been under the spotlight since what has been taking place with Israel in Gaza, the genocide, the ICJ case, and all of that has actually put South Africa in the spotlight. And again, President Cyril Ramaphosa using specifically this forum, the State of the Nation address, to outline South Africa's foreign policy and also looking at South Africa, where we are, how do we fit in the international community, and how we can actually contribute. Where he even spoke about the ICJ case, saying that we acted in accordance with our obligations under the Genocide Convention by instituting proceedings against Israel. And we know that hasn't gone down well. We've seen a lot of threats that came out from Donald Trump as well. And, this is obviously likely to impact on South Africa and how our relationship is seen by specifically the likes of the United States of America.
Yes, definitely. First and foremost, you are putting it right that we're living in a global village and we should try everything we can, of course, informed by our national interests, but we have to try and make sure that we fit into that global village, because whether we like it or not, it affects us. Whether it's with issues of the economy, whether it's issues of trade, whether it's issues of peace, security, and stability, whether it's issues of climate change and all that, we are all affected. And therefore, South Africa, as some people like saying, we punch above our weight. We do not punch above our weight. We take lessons from our own forefathers who drew a freedom charter, who said in their view, imagine when the freedom charter was drawn, they spoke of peace, stability, and security. They also spoke of friendship. And I think those were lessons from the times of the Second World War and all that. The experiences and impact of that were in their minds all the time. So while we might have others in America feeling the way they feel about us and telling us that we are doing ugly things about the issues of the land and all that, they also need to understand and appreciate our history, appreciate where we come from, and appreciate what we are trying to address. They know very well. They went through, they also enslaved people many, many years ago. There was a slave trade, and ultimately there was freedom for the slaves at the time. The slaves were freed because there were people who had a vision of making people as equal as possible. We have the same thing here in South Africa. Majority black people were excluded from everything, including the land. And the president is very clear about the need for us to engage with them, to make them see our point, because as I normally say, war of words thrown at each other does not build the world. So it's important that even though they're throwing the words on us, we must rise above them because we all need each other. And with regard to solidarity, solidarity remains key for us, especially in the African National Congress, because we had people that were in solidarity with us at our worst times too, when we were struggling to make South Africa free. South Africa is free today. And if people can look around, yes, there are challenges where people still face poverty, face unemployment, inequality. But when they look around in comparison to where we were, let's say 30 years ago to where we are today, we can see the transformation. So those who are throwing words on us, it is our responsibility to go back to them and have an engagement and do our best to get them to understand our current situation.
I think what you're saying is very, very important. And for someone like yourself who has spent a lot of time in a government and who understands, where South Africa fits into the larger global political landscape. And what we're also seeing, and I just like your thoughts on this, is a total disregard, a total disrespect for countries like South Africa in terms of the positions that we have adopted over a period of time. And yeah, I'm not only referring to South Africa, the ICJ case, and our position as far as Palestine and Gaza is concerned, but we see it right across the entire spectrum. Where we've seen in recent times Donald Trump signing executive order after executive order, a lot of it showing disrespect to the entire world, and once again imposing their will, whether we're talking about climate change, whether we're talking about global economy, whether we're talking about tariffs. We've seen what has happened with China, with Mexico, with Canada as well. We've seen the threats to the European Union, and we are going to see similar threats, obviously directed at the African continent as well. So I just like your thoughts, basically, when dealing with a country that is supposedly the largest economy in the world, that is supposedly the superpower in the world. How does one actually respond? And we know last night, the president responded pretty strongly in terms of respecting South Africa, respecting our sovereignty, and respecting us for who we are.
Well, I think we also have to appreciate that there is a nation, which is the United States, and it has people who we are very sure will come to our rescue. It is not everybody there in the United States of America who feels exactly like how Trump feels about us. But obviously, he is the president, he is in power, and therefore, that's the reason why he was able to pass so many executive orders. But we must also appreciate that all these executive powers, they still have to go through some other processes where there are other progressive people who sit in there who are going to take kindly, actually, to the approach of an aggressive America, of an America that disregards and has got disrespect for other nations of the world. We all belong to each other. He's in office today, he won't be in office tomorrow. That's the way it works. At the same time, because we know that he is there, he is the president, he does take the decisions, and he's got all these other people around him who think like him probably, who want to do the same thing for their own sake, not for the sake of the overall American population. They do it for themselves. I don't want to even go to speaking about Elon Musk and talk about what he has been saying ever since there was a campaign of Donald Trump. And I'm happy that our president got a chance to speak to him. But also as a citizen of the country, I just feel very angry and pained about the approach of somebody who should know better. Even though he left when he was 18, he's smart enough to have relatives here would be able to tell him that what is being said in America by the president is actually not true. At the same time, we must get as many friends as possible who are going to support us as we explain ourselves, who are going to stand up for us as they stood up for us even in the past. We need those friends today to stand up for us because we can't stand alone. I also think we need the African continent. Actually, in my view, the leaders of the continent need to be united at this point more than they've ever been united before. Because an attack on South Africa, they must not look at it as an attack on South Africa only. They must look at it as an attack to the African continent because we have the AU, we have regional bodies, must be united. Our biggest weakness is disunity and not being united, and especially our leaders, if they are not united about the approach and how to grow the entire African economy.
Just finally, former minister, just a thought while you were talking, and we've seen the response come through from President Cyril Ramaphosa, and I was just thinking, if Madiba was alive, how would Madiba have
Mm.
reacted to this?
Well, I think the brush of Madiba on President Ramaphosa is there. The brush of President Nelson Mandela is there in many of our leaders. Many of our leaders continue to drink from the cup that he filled, and I think we should all drink from that cup because Mandela himself, at difficult times, sometimes we used to be upset and say, no, but he shouldn't have taken that kind of a decision. And he would calmly explain to us why he took this decision. And ultimately would realize that there was a reasoning behind it. More than anything else, there was always a national interest of unity for the country, of working together and making sure that we grow the economy, we improve our country collectively. What we see at the moment, which is very unfortunate, and I think the president made a call. He made a call to the public-private partnership. He made the call to government. He actually indicated, for instance, that we resolved some of the very deep problems of ESCOM and energy because the private sector stepped up. But of course, they would step up. They want their businesses to not to collapse, so they would step up. They mustn't step up only for things that are of interest to them. They must step up for everything, including ending poverty, including supporting us with systems that can also make sure that government is efficient and that government is ethical, as the president spoke to it. So working together, as he said, a nation that works for all is what we need. And the spirit of Madiba will always live with us, no matter how angry we can be. I, for one, as a person, I used to be in the camps. I used to be one that used to think I'm going to come back home and fight. I came back with a whole lot of anger. I came back with, they can't keep on treating us like this forever, and we must do something about it. And Mandela was able to calm us down to say, even when you want to do that, there is a way of preserving your own dignity, preserving the dignity of our people, and preserving the dignity of every South African, because South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
Well, former Minister of Social Development of South Africa, Lindiwe Zulu, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out, and we thank you for your time with us this morning right here on Solar Media.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All the best to you. Well, that brings us straight on to 9 a.m. And this hour of News and Views is sponsored by Africa Muslims Agency. Africa Muslims Agency, a beacon of hope to communities for over 35 years in Africa and beyond. And next up, Jummah Inspirations with Sheikh Mohammed Arifdin.